Today's top picks from Breaking Views. Europe needs to ease up on its firewall obsession, and the cash for Cameron fiasco is undermining the UK government's moral authority on austerity, says the team. With me is Peter Larsen. Let's start with this firewall. I know finance ministers meet at the end of the week. Hope is that Germany is going to say, fine, you can have your trillion or whatever it is. But your columnist, Neil Unmack, is saying, hold on a minute, it's probably not in the best interests of Europe to increase this thing.
Well, I think he's saying there's a huge amount of focus on it, and we're heading for another summit, and there's an argument about should it be 500 million, should it be a trillion, should the trillion be temporary or should it be permanent, and all this kind of stuff. And if we get to a trillion, will the IMF then put in its own resources? Right. And his point is simply that we need to stop getting quite so obsessed about this firewall for two very simple reasons. First, a trillion and a half a trillion, none of it will be enough if Spain and Italy get into serious trouble. The resources will be quickly depleted, and people will say the firewall's not big enough. So actually, when you ask what this firewall is for, it's not big enough to bail out Spain and Italy. The second issue, and actually then, if you're not going to bail out Spain and Italy, you probably don't even need much more than you've got at the moment.
Which is his other point, isn't it?
And his other point is simply that actually, when you're dealing with Spain and Italy, what really matters is market discipline. And we saw that with Italy, when Berlusconi was really in trouble and people were really wondering about Italy's ability to deliver austerity, the yields went through the roof. And what happened? Berlusconi stepped aside, we've got a technocratic government, they've taken some good measures, and the yields come back down. And in Spain, we're seeing now there's a bit of wobbling on austerity and on commitment to austerity, and the yields are going up. And that is the best discipline that you can provide.
So what's the ideal amount then for this thing?
It doesn't. You know what? I think it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
But the danger is that it becomes such a big focus, and that we have a summit which is inconclusive, or that kind of comes to some kind of messy compromise that everyone says, oh no, the firewall's not big enough. Yeah. Actually, it really shouldn't be that important.
Okay. And then let's talk about this UK story. It's a remarkable story. And the point Chris Hughes makes is after the pro-business budget, this is going to be a hard one to live down. And of course, well, just run us through the background here, what this is about.
Well, this is another fundraising row in British politics, which British politics had these fundraising rows over and over again for years. But in this case, the Conservative Party treasurer being approached by some undercover reporters from a Sunday newspaper seeking a donation, where he made all kinds of promises about, well, if you give us £250,000, we'll get you dinner with David Cameron and you can talk to him directly about your concerns. Now, you can dismiss this to say, it's another fundraising row, but it's important in the current political context, which is you have a Conservative Party and coalition government, which is already facing the suspicion from the electorate that these are a bunch of rich guys out to help their friends. They reinforced that suspicion last week with the budget, where they cut the top rate of income tax for people earning more than £150,000, and at the same time increased or raised taxes really by changing the allowances for pensioners, something that was already immediately presented as a granny tax. So now you have another thing that comes on top of this that basically says, oh well, these guys are really just sort of in hock to rich businessmen and don't really care about the rest of the country. And the reason that matters is because the UK has a huge amount of spending cuts to push through in order to get its deficit back on track. Remember, debt is 63% of GDP. The deficit will be 8% this year. And so you need political authority and that original catchphrase, we're all in this together. You need that to get this through.
But very quickly, is this going to do anything to the Prime Minister's ratings? Is it going to do anything to the Conservative Party's standing?
I think we'll have to see. I mean, it's clearly damaging. The question really is how damaging it is. I mean, the Liberal Democrats who are keeping the coalition going, they will enjoy this, but I doubt that they will do anything about it because they don't want to bring down the government either. It's really embarrassing for Cameron, but the problem really, and the point we're making, is that this, combined with the budget, risks undermining the political momentum you had for delivering austerity in the UK. And if that gets derailed, then we have a problem.
Okay. Peter, many thanks for that. Peter Larsen. For more Agenda Setting Insight, watch our US Breaking News show every day, 12:30 Eastern, 16:30 GMT. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.